Ah, yes, 90s anime art style, a trend that has become more recent to replicate that style. And I've decided to join in. Um, I usually don't do well with trends because I'm either really late or I just take so long doing it that I give up. And I'm pretty darn late for this one. I don't think it's trending anymore. However, I had a lot of fun doing it, and I had a lot of fun looking up different references. I mostly used Sailor Moon as a reference, and I'm sure you could tell by the drawing alone of how much I reference Sailor Moon. Um, I did notice, however, looking up references and stuff, that a lot of AI, not art, we're not calling it art, I like to call it trash. AI trash. There is a lot of 90s anime replicates of AI trash, and it was very hard to find actual art from, like, real people. um, it was a struggle, especially on Pinterest. My gosh, if you look up 90s anime aesthetic on Pinterest, you're gonna find mostly AI art. Unless my feed is cursed, and I'm sure it is. Um, it definitely bothers me, but what am I gonna do? Nothing. Anyway, this trend was really fun, and I will probably do it more just because of how um fun it was and how simple it was, and it only took me 2 hours to complete this drawing. And learning how to draw in different art styles is always going to be beneficial because it teaches you how to go outside of your comfort zone. And for me, that's pretty tough considering I like to stay in that little box I've created myself. And when I go out of that box, I tend to just run back in and give up. However, this one was just comfort enough to where I could finish it because it's really not too different from my normal art style. Now, granted, I don't do like the thin lines or the way they drew eyes back then or like the blush or whatever. I have a more modern shoujo style. However, the early shoujo styles like Sailor Moon or um what was that one? Lovely Complex. I've seen a few manga spoilers for that one, and the manga art style for that was really pretty. Or like the early Fruits Basket style, which was a little scary to admittedly it was a little scary. However, it still kind of gave off the, nice shoujo vibe. Um, and I think that's the thing with a lot of earlier animes is you can either have something really cute and nice to look at like Sailor Moon or something like Oran High School Host Club where they looked like they used Slender Man as a reference for the bodies. And I'm not trying to be mean. I know that was just like a trend in Japan. I'm sure it's still a trend. But like dudes looked like they were 7 feet tall in that anime, and like, was that necessary? Did they have to look that tall? I'm sure not everybody in Japan was 7 feet tall. Anyway, I'm rambling. Um, Back to what I'm doing in the background. Um, I redid the line art a gazillion times because I am a perfectionist. So as you can see here, I was just redoing and redoing and redoing again. It probably took me the longest to do the line art because um I couldn't find a good pen to use for this. I ended up using the Turnip pen that comes with the Clip Studio Paint um assets that you get. I was about to say lobby. Telling you, I don't know how to speak English. And it was weird because I had stabilization on, and no matter how high I turned it up or how low I turned it, it kept being like a little wonky unless I did the lines like incredibly fast. But the problem with that is getting the lines to do what you want. So I had to fiddle with it a lot, and I was refusing to go into the asset lobby. Oh my gosh, the asset store and find a new pen because that just takes way too long, and I have like 100 pens downloaded at this point. But I don't think it looks too bad, and it was pretty easy otherwise because like for the clothes are kind of just bare minimum details is what I noticed. They don't really go in with the wrinkles, the crinkles, the wrinkles in the clothes, or like heavy on the detail when it comes to sweaters or anything. So I did what I normally do, and that's basic details. Get the shape down, get, those details to so you can tell what kind of material it is, and then just leave it be because that's all I'm willing to do. um, I'm not a very detailed artist unless it comes to the hair. Now, hair, let me tell you, that is my favorite thing to draw ever. Hair is like, mwah. I don't know. I have an obsession with drawing hair, especially if it's fluffy or if it's in a ponytail or if it's down. Can't draw short hair. I'm trying to, but all of my characters end up having long hair, and even the males. Most of them have long hair. It's a problem. But what can I say? Males just look better with long hair. Anyway, back to the drawing because I'm rambling again. For the line art, because most of the line art in the earliest 90s, like screenshots, was kind of blurred, what I did was I duplicated the line art layer and I put it on about 28% Gaussian blur, and I lowered the opacity to about 60%, and then I merged it with the original layer and lowered that opacity to about 90%. And it gave the nice blurred effect that a lot of anime back then had, and it's what I used to do with my art. I don't do it anymore because I noticed a problem with trying to fill in color. Took way too long. I think another thing that I struggled with when it came to the shading actually was the highlights, because usually I do a few lines and like a little circles and with the spray, and that's it. But when it came to the 90s cell shading for highlights, it was a little bit more like you had to actually sit there and draw in different shapes. And it's not always easy getting the shapes to look, not weird. Um, and that was like the hardest struggle I had with all of this. And eventually I just kind of gave up and was like, I'm going to draw a bunch of shapes, hope for the best, and move on because I ain't got time for this. um, so yeah, otherwise it was pretty easy because when it comes to shading, um, in the shadows, all I had to use was multiply layer, and I used a pale like pinkish red for the shading. um I think with most 90 animes like screenshots, you'll notice that they either use like a palish red or pink or whatever, or they'll use purple or blue, and that's usually what I shade with anyhow, unless it's like a really detailed piece or more painterly style. But using pink, purple, and blue is usually your best bets when it comes to shading, because if you put it on a multiplayer layer and you can like lower the opacity or change the contrast of it or whatever, it usually looks pretty nice, and you don't have to put much thought into it. Pretty much anything that I don't have to put thought into, I love doing. And you'll notice here that there are a lot of moments where the speed drawing, it doesn't look like I'm doing anything. That's because I'm messing with brushes or colors, or a lot of the times I would just get up without pausing my recording. We don't talk about that. We just don't talk about it because I'm too lazy to go in and edit it out. This is why I need an editor. um but yeah, as you can see here, I have finally finished with shading the hair. Really don't think it came out that badly. um but I am on to the face, and I was trying to figure out how they shaded the cheeks, and they really didn't do much. It was just like a light shade of pink, and that's it. Which, I mean, I usually kind of do, but I put blush all over the face. It's everywhere. It contaminates all my drawings because blush makes the character look alive. Without blush, I feel like they look a little dead or sickly or not human. um but yeah, The eyes were a little tricky, and that sounds weird with how simple they are, but because I didn't think about adding it to the line art layer, I had to make a different layer for it and do the blur thing again, and then fill it in with white, and it's a mess. It's a mess. That's all I can say is it's a mess. Otherwise, though, they they shaded eyes a lot differently than how I do. I usually put a lot more detail into it, and that was just highlights. That's it. Lots of highlights. Why did they have so many highlights? No one in real life has that many, unless you're staring into like a light bulb or something. I don't know. It's a lot. I'm not gonna complain because it looks nice, but like it's unrealistic. I'm just saying. Not that anything about anime screams realistic. Um. Anyway, as you can see here, at that point I was done shading and I went into the background. I was mainly referencing one screenshot from Sailor Moon, and the background was very simple. And I was like, you know what? Good enough for me. I'm going to use this as reference and let it be that, because I was trying to make it look like it had come out of like an anime, like a anime screenshot. So I needed to add a background because I don't usually do that. And you will see in future videos, I don't like backgrounds. I can't. I don't know why. I just don't know how to do them. Eventually I will learn, because as a webtoon creator, I probably should learn. But this background, it worked because it didn't really need to be that detailed. It really didn't. But I did the liner blur with the liner of the trees, which is literally just a simple silhouette, and I added some gradients, and that's just about it. And then lastly, what I did was I filled it with purple, did a noise filter, and turned down the opacity of it, and I fixed the brightness and contrast a little bit just so it looked a little less in your face. And that's pretty much what I did. And those little circle things, because they're cute and it's meant to look all, whimsical, I guess. Anyway, this is the end. This is the end result, and I hope you guys like it. I worked pretty hard on it, even though it only took me 2 hours, and I hope you enjoy listening to me ramble and not know how to speak. I feel like I am doing typos with my own voice. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this and want to see more. And yeah, bye bye.